Senator, Republicans say what you're really fighting for is taxpayer dollars for, as they put it, illegal aliens. I know that's not strictly true, but there is a provision.
Not strictly true.
It's not true directly, but
out lie. It is a flat-out lie.
That was Pocahontas, of course, and it's the old Russian playbook. Always accuse the other guy of lying while you are angrily lying and pounding the table because, she's still pretending to be a Cherokee Indian or something like that. She thinks she'll get her a beer because she's such a regular person. Harvard professor. She's a Harvard professor. I wonder if she's the same person that is, Lahore Vagistan, the new professor at Harvard University. I wonder if that's actually Elizabeth Warren. What are the odds? That's complicated. Well, a very happy Thursday to you, and welcome back once again. We continue to be easy to reach, absolutely toll-free for you, our valued customers, our beloved listeners, at 888-630-9625. The Democrats, Chuck Schumer, the lizard king, the squinting, skinny-lipped Schumer from New York, he shut the government down because he's greedy and he's trying to steal $1.5 trillion. It might only be $1.2 trillion. The 0.2 is $200 billion. And they're demanding this money. Otherwise, the government will remain shut down. And this is weird. Now Schumer is demanding that Fort Sumter be turned over to the Democrat Party. Wow, that's weird. He's flashing back to the beginning of the first American Civil War that the Democrat Party started back then because they wanted to keep their slaves because they're the party of slavery and they love slavery and plantations and the bullwhip and, everything that goes with that because they're the Democrat Party. And today, they want their illegal aliens, which are the 21st century version of slaves, but the Democrats don't have to house them and feed them. They just pay them a pauper's wage and have them maintain their property. And, down at 12 Oaks, they've got them out raking and clipping the grass with pairs of scissors. And I'm telling you, you're a Democrat Party. I got to tell you, I was in Bangalore. I was in Bangalore, which is now called Bengaluru, in southern India, in Karnataka, the province of Karnataka. And Bengaluru, I was down there, it was 15 years ago or so. And they had these islands in the middle of the streets that have trees and grass. And they had a bunch of guys out there with scissors and little hand shears, and they were cutting the lawn on the islands there. And that's what the Democrats want. That's what the Democrats envision, kind of a colonial British version of India. But they want it to be in the United States of America. They need really cheap labor because they've stolen a lot of money and they've got properties and they need cheap labor, just like they did back in the 1860s. And you may remember the first Republican president actually freed the slaves, and then a Democrat shot him in the head and murdered him. The more things change, as they say, the more they stay the same. Am I right about that? You know that I'm right about that, don't you? Yes, you do. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yep. You see, the Islamists, an Islamist attacked a synagogue because it's Jewish holiday today. So naturally there was a lunatic, a bearded, dressed in black man, shaved his head, attacked a synagogue in Manchester. That's in England. It's not London, but it's kind of like London, except it's a different English city with a English name, Manchester. They report there was an explosion at the scene after the bomb squad arrived, and suspect was shot down by police because, it's Manchester. There's a synagogue there, and you can't have Islamists and synagogues in the same place. That wouldn't do at all, would it? No, it wouldn't. No, sir. Because today is Yom Kippur. It's Yom Kippur. And in England, they got a little Islamist attack by this lunatic on a synagogue in Manchester, and he had to be gunned down by the police. Police are looking into whether he's an Islamist or a Democrat. Could be either at this point, Because the Democrats, they can get on airplanes and fly over there in no time at all, and then act like they act here. Because they're always firebombing the Jewish governor's mansion in Pennsylvania, firebombing pro-Israel marchers in Colorado, and terrorizing Jewish students on campuses in New York, and terrorizing patrons in restaurants on sidewalks in Los Angeles, even Beverly Hills. That's right. And now this guy will have to do the autopsy, see whether he's a member of an Islamist group or maybe just a registered Democrat in the United States who went over there. It's hard to say. Difficult to differentiate between the two entities, I've got to say. So we've got that going. Now, let me get to some audio because the government is shut down, and Jasmine is on telephones today. She's in there, and she's keeping busy. We're at 888-630-9625. Jasmine came in, and she comes in. She's got a long drive to get into the radio station. And today, she said, it was like government shutdown. Took about half the amount of time to get in to the radio station that it normally takes because of the government shutdown. It's like a weekend. It's like Saturday or Sunday. It was easy peasy for me. I'm sorry, I used easy peasy. It was easy for me coming in, too. All right, let's go to the Lizard King. And that's Chuck Schumer, of course. And I don't know if you saw the video we posted the other day of the Lizard King, his little pointy little tongue slipping in and out like this. Like this, between his skinny city lips and his little Lizard King, and he was peeking around, and one eye goes left when the other guy goes up, and he's like a salamander. That's why he likes gerrymandering, but he's like a lizard, the Lizard King. That's why he's the Lizard King. But Chuck Schumer was out there lying yesterday. They all lie. We opened with Pocahontas, who lied for decades at Harvard University about being Native American, being a member of the Cherokee Nation, the Cherokee tribe. But she lied about that. And then they did what's that, 23andMe, that genetic test, did one of those things, found that she had 0 Native American blood in her. But Marco Rubio took a test at the same time, discovered that Marco Rubio has more African blood, he's more African American. He has more African blood in him than Pocahontas has any Native American blood. Because she lies all the time. But we'll get to her lying in a minute. Let's start out with Chuck Schumer, the Lizard King, lying about the government shutdown. It's the Schumer shutdown. Schumer shut it down. It's a shakedown. It's extortion. The Republicans on the Hill should be calling it extortion. They should be calling it a shakedown. He wants $1.2 to $1.5 trillion. He wants to refund the Corporation for Public Broadcasting because it's a taxpayer-funded propaganda network that the Democrats have set up across the country in every big city and every small hamlet with every propaganda network. And if I'm the Speaker of the House, I'd come back and I'd say, okay, you can have your $500 million for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, but we get $500 million for talk radio. All right? And let's see the snakes slither out of that one. Here is the Lizard King, Chuck Schumer, lying while he accuses other people of lying.
They try to divert the subject, change the subject, and make up lies.
Divert the subject.
Like saying, we're for giving this health care money to undocumented immigrants. They know damn well that the law is that no Medicare, Medicaid, or ACA funds can go to undocumented immigrants.
ACA, he calls it ACA. That's Obamacare. The Affordable Care Act, which made health care much less affordable. We had to leave the plans that we were on because Obama destroyed, blew up, set fire to, firebombed, Molotov cocktailed our health insurance. And they say, see, now it's better. And then they thought it was a synagogue or something, so they firebombed it, the Democrat Party. Yeah, so they make up lies. And he's lying while he accuses you of making up lies. He's the Lizard King. All right? Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, and he is just great. He's strong like bull. And he responded to Chuck Schumer, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is out there saying, have you heard this? Saying if the Republicans in the Senate want to negotiate, they should come to her office to negotiate. She's a loser, flunky, bottom-rung House member, and the Senate has nothing to do with her. But the egos on these Socialist Workers Party people, I'm telling you, President J.D. Vance was having none of it yesterday.
The Chuck Schumer AOC wing of the Democratic Party shut down the government because they said to us, we will open the government, but only if you give billions of dollars of funding for health care for illegal aliens. That's a ridiculous proposition.
That's only if you give billions. It's billion. You know what the number is? It's crazy, over the top number that the Democrats want to steal and then just add to the tab of $37 trillion that Schumer, I looked it up once when Schumer came to Washington, it was like $1 trillion. Now it's $37 trillion. He should probably be in a penitentiary in Cuba. That's a Gitmo. He's a Gitmo guy. Maybe Supermax in Colorado. J.D. Vance was having none of it. And he explained why Chuck Schumer was lying when he just lied to us as the liar that he is.
There are two Biden-era programs that explicitly gave the taxpayer health care money to illegal aliens that we turned off when President Trump took over in January. The Democrats want to turn it back on. It is in the text of the bill that they initially gave to us to reopen the government.
And here it is, because they can show you the text. And the Democrats say, again, when the Trump administration came in, they said, hey, the Biden people turned over billions and billions and billions in free. It's not free. It's just that somebody else is paying for it. That is the Democrat Party stealing it from you and stealing it from me, stealing it from Jasmine, stealing it from Jeff Wolf across me, to pay illegal aliens because they believe that the millions and millions of illegal aliens, the gangs that they waved into the country, will vote Democrat because they also want to destroy the United States of America and Western civilization. They're Latin American gangs, after all. The Speaker of the House is Mike Johnson, and he, too, is having none of this guff. I'll just call it guff because we're on the radio, that they're peddling.
They're trying to take out in its entirety the reforms that we put into the big, beautiful bill pertaining to health. What we did was we strengthened the Medicaid program by making sure that ineligible recipients are not on the rolls. They estimate that 2.3 million illegal recipients for Medicaid will be pushed off the rolls because of our reforms, and then it's going to save $185 billion of taxpayer funds. So they want to return all those ineligible people back to the rolls, and many of them are illegal aliens.
I'm sorry, $185 billion. The Democrat Party should be rounded up by ICE and deported. I just say ICE because then they'd be deported. I like to see them deported. You know, maybe Cuba. Where Assata Shakur, the cop killer hero of the Democrat Party, not to be confused with various other killers that are heroes of the Democrat Party. But like they got Luigi Mangione. He's a hero of the Democrat Party. Assata Shakur, hero of the Democrat Party. Hero of the Chicago Teachers Union, Assata Shakur, black terrorist, communist, cop killer, convicted cop killer, escaped from prison, fled to Cuba because there are communists there and they kill everybody. And they liked her until she died last week. And the Democrats are praising her across the United States because she's a cop killer, not in spite of. Now, let me go to the Democrat congressman whose name is Ro Khanna. Accidentally, he screwed up. And so he was not supposed to do this. I think Schumer is going to have to take a staple gun to his eyelids or something. But here is Democrat Congressman Ro Khanna accidentally admitting that there are billions and billions for illegal aliens and what the Democrats are demanding.
In terms of health care, the reality is they're just not being honest. The amount of money that actually is going towards people who are undocumented is such a small portion of the Medicaid cuts or the Affordable Care Act, if at all. And so we can argue that point, but the reality that even the vice president would acknowledge, that anyone who looks at the numbers will acknowledge, is 90 to 95% of the funding we're talking about is talking about funding for American citizens.
Wait a minute, 90 to 95% of the funding we're talking about is for American citizens, meaning maybe 10% of the money we're talking about is not for American citizens. He screwed up. It's a classic Washington gaffe. He accidentally told the truth. So just 10%. So is that $185 billion since we're talking about 1-point-something trillion? 10% of that is $100 billion. Right? And the Speaker of the House said $185 billion, free stuff for $2.3 million. And then when you give the Democrats that, they come back. And you know what they want when they come back? They want more. They're not liberals. They're the left. Hey, Ro Khanna, just 10% of it goes to illegal alien gang members that are here to destroy the world. And you guys are facilitating their efforts. Honestly. All right, maybe not ICE. Maybe we have the FBI and pre-dawn raids with camera crews across the street. Pre-dawn raids for Democrats in the House. If you're a pathological liar and you like stealing a lot, maybe a career in Democrat Party politics is for you. And you can do it with a degree in gender studies, too. That's good. And your professor can be Lahore. Lahore over here. Let's go back to the telephones. Let's go to Glenn calling from Herndon, Virginia. Glenn, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, thanks. On my way to the range, and your visual of the Lizard King with his little forked tongue nearly made me drive off the road. But I'm safely on the road, though.
I'm happy to hear that. We don't want any incidents on the way to the shooting range.
No. I just wanted to ask the shutdown. Mike Johnson was on CNN trying to educate Dana Bash when she wasn't trying to cut him off. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the continuing resolution is essentially Biden's budget, as a temporary to get the government, continue the government opening or continue it running. It's a Biden budget, but that's not good enough for the Democrats, but that's the Republicans' fault. Is that right? Am I reading that right or hearing that right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, you understand perfectly what's going on here. Yeah, and Dana Bash, longtime Democrat, her now ex-husband was an Obama administration official. He was one of the liars on the felonious 51 letter about the Hunter Biden laptop being Russian disinformation. There are liars everywhere. That's, they find each other and then they intermarry and they breed, and the next generation of Democrats is born. But yeah, you nailed it. And you're right. The speaker, Mike Johnson, was on with Dana Bash. And he was explaining, look, this is a continuation of a budget that the Democrats have voted for again and again. But, the Republicans did defund the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which is one of their propaganda networks, right, of the Democrat Party propaganda. This is the taxpayer-funded propaganda network, which I have no interest in continuing to pay for. And they got, we're going to lose Big Bird. Big Bird has already made $1 billion on his own. I think he's ready to walk on his own two big, funny feet.
Well, and also, they always keep referring to the law. But part of what I believe they want is a huge emergency Medicare that hospitals use to give anybody and everybody without questions medical care.
Yes, that's right. And that, that has been the law for a while, where anybody shows up at an emergency room, they get medical care. Okay. But then the Democrats waved 20 million illegals into the country. Yeah, one of our brilliant and great American callers that spoke to a little while ago, Seabass calling in, talking about his daughter graduating from Virginia Commonwealth University with a degree in gender studies, but she got a government job. Got a job with the state, and that's good. We're happy about that because a job pay the bills. That's wonderful. But he talked about how the Charlie Kirk Memorial was vandalized in Culpeper, Virginia. And in the meantime, I have had photos sent to me of the vandalism of the Charlie Kirk Memorial, and a large banner set up on the side of it. It's a fence, really, and a large banner probably 20 feet across and 8 feet high. And Democrats violently attacked it because the Democrat Party is a terrorist group, a criminal group, and they're transgender also. But the normal people, the pro-American people, the decent people, put up the banner, which on the left has a large photograph of Charlie Kirk wearing a business suit and holding his hand up, talking to somebody. And it says, "Rest in peace," over to the right. rest in peace, Charlie Kirk, right? And it says 1993 to 2025, when he was assassinated by a Democrat, a murderer, a suicidal creep with transgender issues, more transgender stuff. And the Democrats vandalized it. They showed up and tore down a portion of it and spray painted over his face with what looks like gray spray paint. And they spray painted over it, "Burn in hell." Burn in hell. They burn in hell. I think you guys will burn in hell. But Charlie Kirk is just fine. And then they wrote "Free Palestine." They spray painted "Free Palestine" because they love death more than we love life. The left is a violent criminal death cult. And, 1 million abortions a year, not nearly enough. Roe v. Wade was overturned, and they're like, hey, let's everybody get an abortion. Then they're all pounding Tylenol. They put their pregnant women on videos and pounding Tylenol because they heard that Tylenol might give their kids autism, and they want to encourage that. They want to incite that because, they're Democrats. They're the left. Yeah, so they spray painted "Free Palestine," vandalized it, tore down the "Rest in Peace, Charlie Kirk" part. They spray painted "Burn in Hell," and they spray painted over his face because the Democrat Party, they're the party of the first Civil War, as it is now known, and they're a violent gang of maladjusted miscreants, the Democrat Party is. Speaking of which, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but in the United Kingdom, Manchester, in the United Kingdom, the UK, as they call it. And here are the headlines. The Reuters news agency, because today is Yom Kippur. It is an annual Jewish holiday and a Day of Atonement, and it's a serious Jewish holiday. And a synagogue in the United Kingdom was attacked. The most common name for a newborn boy in all of England is Mohammed. Now, because they opened their borders. The liberals opened their borders. Say, hey, let's wave in the jihad. What could go wrong? And the jihad leaders in England are saying, well, we're going to own England in less than 100 years because we're all having 12 kids in every household and you're having 0.8 kids in every household. So give us a couple of generations and we'll own the place and the sword of Islam will be lowered down upon your head. But here we go today on Yom Kippur. Reuters news agency, Manchester, in the UK. 2 dead in UK synagogue attack on Yom Kippur. Suspect with bomb shot and killed by police. You see, 2 dead synagogue attack, Yom Kippur. Police kill suspect with bomb. But see, the thing is, a Manchester NBC fake news. Manchester synagogue attack, car ramming, : it's NBC News. They live in their : 2 dead, suspect shot, police say. The New York Times used to be a newspaper. Now it's just for lining bird cages and things. 2 killed in stabbing outside synagogue on Yom Kippur in Manchester, UK, police say. The assailant died after being shot by officers. The Democrats want to defund the police because they want the jihadis, although this could be a member of the Democrat Party because the Democrats are the ones firebombing the Jewish governor's mansion in Pennsylvania. The Democrats are the ones firebombing a pro-Israel march in Colorado. The Democrats are the ones terrorizing Jewish students and faculty on the campuses of elite universities in New York City and in Boston and beyond. But the assailant died after being shot by officers. 2 people were arrested. 2 people were arrested, so that's 3. The police said the attack killed 2 people in Manchester, England on Yom Kippur, the holiest day on the Jewish calendar. Now, this is the world we live in, and the Democrat Party has now become worse than Hamas, at least in the United States, worse than ISIS, at least in the United States, worse than Al-Qaeda, at least in the last 5 years in the United States of America. Prime Minister Keir Starmer, he's a socialist and a Bolshevik, and he thinks that everybody should be named Mohammed. What could go wrong? Prime Minister Keir Starmer has arrived back in Downing Street after flying back from Copenhagen, where he was attending a conference of European leaders who are all giving up to the Islamists. He will lead a meeting this afternoon of a government committee that handles national emergencies. Yeah, well, a little late now. Wait till after there. This is what the left always does. Always do. He's a leftist too, and just amazing. And there are reports. Of course, they're calling it a terrorist attack. Imagine that. Wait, he crashed his car, ran into people, tried to run him over at the synagogue on Yom Kippur, got out and started stabbing people to death until the police came along and shot him and killed him. But they're not sure whether to call it a terrorist attack. They are calling it a terrorist attack. The prime minister is a guy named Keir Starmer.
It's absolutely shocking. And all of our thoughts are with those affected. I'm on my way back to London. When I arrive, I will chair an emergency COBRA meeting.
Right.
I'm already able to say that additional police assets are being deployed to synagogues across the country.
Too late.
We will do everything to keep our Jewish community safe.
After it's over. That's because, hey, wait. Right. Then chip. Cheerio. Headed back to merry old London now. Shukran. Yeah. Honestly, they're dismantling Western civilization. The left is volunteering to hand Western Europe and the United States of America over to the Crusaders, who are here to kill and enslave. The sword of Islam will reign supreme. Now, the authorities in Britain have not yet confirmed whether a vehicle ramming and stabbing at a synagogue in Manchester on Thursday is being treated as a potential act of terrorism, because every day is an IQ test, and a lot of people fail every day. They're just not sure. I can't say. He was yelling Allahu Akbar. He's running over Jews at a synagogue on Yom Kippur. He jumped out with a big knife and stabbed people to death, and only when the police arrived and shot him to death did he stop. But we can't say for sure whether it might be a terrorist attack. No, sir. And the first statement on the assault, which occurred around 9:30 a.m. local time, Greater Manchester Police said it had declared Plato. They've declared Plato shortly after they were called to the scene. That was a reference to Operation Plato, which set protocols for armed police officers and emergency services, which responding to major episodes, including terrorist attacks. The New York Times doesn't know what, I'm reading the New York Times now. They don't know what to make of it. So, in Manchester, where an assailant attacked a synagogue on Thursday morning, the location was one of Britain's deadliest terror attacks. And listen to this. May 2017, a supporter of the Islamic State detonated a powerful suicide bomb. Democrats do that here. They self-immolate a lot. Among Ariana Grande fans leaving a concert in Manchester Arena, one of the country's largest indoor venues. And so it's the scene of another terror attack, radical Islamic jihadi terror attack. That may still not be entirely sure, but there it is. The BBC saying police treating Manchester synagogue attack in which 2 died as terrorist incident. The BBC is going out on a limb here. Oh, I don't want to get out over your silly skis. Isn't that amazing? Our Democrat Party and the left in England, they're not on our side. And more Democrats, more murder. In the United Kingdom, more lefties, more murder. More Islamists, naturally, more murder. There they are. Yes, sir. Yep. And it is nice that we got this. Actually, Michael Piercy, who's working from home today, sent me the Nick Freitas sent us the photo of the burned, torn, spray-painted, vandalized Charlie Kirk Memorial, Charlie Kirk banner, because they're aspiring terrorists. The Democratic Party is. Free Palestine. Because they love Palestine because they want to kill all the Jews. And the Democrats, they're not on the side of the Jewish people. If you're Jewish and you're a Democrat, let me see. Well, how can I put this? You're an idiot. You're an idiot. That's the short version. Because you guys, honestly, your own party is like, oh, yes, I don't think the Nazis will be so bad. They can be good. They will be very orderly. You're a Democrat Party. Oh, this is kind of a fun one that got my attention yesterday. The Washington Times, the great Washington Times here in Washington, D.C., Judge rules USPS, that's the U.S. Postal Service, not public schools. U.S. Postal Service ban on guns is unconstitutional. That is, for Democrats, that means it's not constitutional. That's what un means as a prefix in this context. And trans is also a prefix that is used in a lot of different contexts as well. Transgender refers to Democrats, but trans alone can be used in a variety of different ways and should not be used to refer exclusively to confused Democrats, gender-confused Democrats. But Stephen Dinan, great reporter, a longtime reporter at the Washington Times, and really a first-rate reporter, writes, the U.S. Postal Service policy banning people from bringing firearms into post offices violates the Constitution, a federal judge in Texas ruled on Tuesday. Judge Reed O'Connor, a George W. Bush appointee, said both the post office's own regulations and a federal law barring firearms possession in a federal facility cannot survive scrutiny after the Supreme Court's 2022 ruling in the Brune case. That ruling said that for firearms restrictions to stand, they must be consistent with what the founders who crafted the Second Amendment would have envisioned. Judge O'Connor said that post offices, and listen to the post offices, they existed at the time of the founding, thanks to, Benjamin Franklin, quite a guy he was. He really was. Lawmakers at the time made laws punishing attacks on mail carriers and postal facilities, but did not bar weapons themselves. The Democrats, because they're in their hearts, they're North Koreans. They want to ban firearms everywhere they can. Schools, which makes schools the targets of school shooters, many of them transgender, all Democrats. Isn't that amazing? Honestly, O'Connor said that, called that a Hail Mary. He said that a Hail Mary attempt that would amount to permission to circumvent the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Second Amendment. Case was brought by the Firearms Policy Coalition, the Second Amendment Foundation, and several individual gun owners. Because the Democrats, they say, well, you can't carry their, I'm a government official. I work in a government building. You can't bring guns in here. Now, if somebody wants to shoot up a post office, the law prohibiting bringing guns into post offices will be the least of his worries when he's gunned down by the police, right? Oh, no, it's a gun-free zone. And if you look at mass shootings and gun-free zones, there is an enormous amount of overlap, All right, I wanted to share that story with you because it's interesting. And the Democrats will then appeal it because they want to ban the Second Amendment and the First Amendment everywhere they go. Free practice of your religion, free speech. They're against all of it. And then they like Hanoi Jane Fonda out there yesterday claiming she's fighting for free speech. Nothing could be further from the truth. Man, oh man. All right, let's gosh, I'm looking at the time. Tell you what do you want? I think maybe we should go to the break, and then we'll come back to the phones, right? Because I have too little time to go to the phones right now. I'll have enough time when we come back. We remain at 888-630-9625, and I've got a lot more on the government shutdown, which Schumer and the Democrats have inflicted, and now they're lying about it all over the place because they lie all the time. They think it's their job. All right, let's go to the telephones. Jeff, let's go to Steve, calling from Miami, Oklahoma. Steve, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, it's great to talk to you. What an honor. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
My honor. And I pronounced Miami right, didn't I?
Yes, you did. You get 5 stars, and so does Jasmine. Say, my question was, years ago, you may not be old enough to remember it, but there was a crafty Democrat by the name of Harry Reid come up with something called the nuclear option. That I believe, if I recall on the TV, the Turtle at that time said you will come to the day of you'll rue this mistake. Is something that is a nuclear option something they can use to get around the crazy communist Democrat Party?
Well, that's an excellent thought, I've got to say, because you're right. Harry, the Body Reid, he wanted all of Barack Obama's nominees to the federal courts to be rushed through the Senate without the filibuster, the 60-vote threshold. And so Harry Reid said, well, we're not going to use the 60-vote threshold. We've got a 50-vote plus 1 or 2 majority. So we're not going to respect the rules of the Senate. We're going to throw them out. We're going to firebomb them with Molotov cocktails, and we're going to get what we want. And they did. And Barack Obama put a bunch of commies on the bench, and Harry Reid, who was being beaten mercilessly by his own brother, was very happy to do that. And you're right. The turtle, Mitch McConnell, said at the time to Harry Reid, he wagged his finger, his crooked finger, and he was right. And he said, You may live sooner than you think. Live to regret this. And then Donald Trump was elected, and Mitch McConnell and the Republicans were in charge of the Senate. And Mitch McConnell said to the Democrats, hey, Harry Reid changed the rules here. We're going to go by the Harry Reid rules. And then Donald Trump got 3 of his nominees onto the Supreme Court. And they pounded the table and said, we didn't mean the Supreme Court. We just meant all the federal courts that we wanted, but not the Supreme Court, because they have the brains of children who grow up to be criminals. And can the Republicans do that now? I'm not sure, because the rules of the Senate are very complex and arcane. But if they can, they certainly should, Steve.
Well, and I do agree, and I was a little hazy on that. One other thing that I was going to bring up was it may be of a blessing that I may get this wrong, Chris, so you can feel free to correct me. The OMB, they have the authority to to lay off or remove non-essential employees. I always wondered about that, non-essential employees. If they're non-essential, why are they there? You know?
Right. Yeah, show me a corporation. Show me a corporation that has non-essential employees all over the place, and I'll show you a corporation that's going bankrupt.
Well, and to bring up one of my favorite lines, and I hope I don't cross up, but remember Ghostbusters, Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray?
Sure.
Dan Aykroyd made the remark. He said, I used to work in the private sector, and they expect results. So it may be something that the people that are
I tell you, the Trump White House is getting ready to lay off a lot of people because of the Dems.